with the go-home show for AEW Dynamite heading into full gear. The big question is, did Cody Rhodes get his hands on La Champion Chris Jericho? Plus also, guys, did WWE invade NXT this week? Find out as we review the Wednesday Night Raw. Hey guys, what's going on? Nick Swetnam here, that's NICK-SWE-T-T-ENHAM, and this is NST Wrestling. The first thing we're going to do is look at the wrestling content, because that's probably, as it should be as a wrestling show, the most important thing of the show. AEW had 3 tag team matches again. They're really going heavy on the tag teams at the moment. You know, I love tag team wrestling, and with tag team wrestling, there is a lot more maneuver for no selling, because what you can do is, you know, you take the move, you do sell the move yourself, but when someone goes to pin you, for example, your partner can come in and then save it. So you can do all these high-flying spots, move after move after move, and it works. In singles matches, though, it doesn't quite come across like this. And AEW have been doing this both in their tag team division and in their singles division. So we've got 3 tag team matches for AEW and also 2 singles. So only 5 matches tonight for AEW, 1 being a women's singles match and 1 being a male's singles match, which was the opening match. NXT, however, we had 5 singles matches and only 1 6-man tag team match. So very different tonight in terms of what the matches were. We had the Bastard Pac going up against Trent out of the Best Friends. Well, interesting. I wasn't really expecting this because the Best Friends are a tag team. It sort of came out of nowhere. But a decent match, running at about 12 minutes long. You know, we had some great outside offense from both men. It was a slower pace. Now, this felt more like a wrestling match to me. It wasn't just constant selling. They slowed the pace down. They had some great high-flying spots, but at the same time, they had some groundwork as well. And, you know, they had some really cool kicks with a massive kick by Pac. We had swinging DDTs, outside suplexes. But the ending of this match did have a bit of a botch. I don't know if you noticed it, because it was so hard not to. He does the Black Arrow for finish. He pins him. The guy's lying on the ground. And the ref just goes 1, 2, and just stops. So there must have been some miscommunication with the referee going on here. I don't understand, if you're a referee, how you could miss this, if this is meant to be the finish. And then he got him in the brutalizer, and then made him tap out straight away. So we know this was a botched move. We've got Pete Dunne taking on Damian Priest in the sequel, as Amaro Ronaldo very eloquently stated. This match went 15 minutes and 10 seconds, and I've got to say, I preferred the first match, maybe because it was a main event match in the last show, about 2-3 weeks ago, but this match was decent as well. They were both sizing each other up. The match built really well, really good storytelling in this. A couple of moonsaults by Dunne. We had a power sort of Batista bomb as such as well, which I thought was really cool. They called it a power bomb, but it pretty much was a Batista bomb. Pete Dunne then snapped his fingers, got him in a submission hold, and actually made Damian Priest tap. Was that a mistake? I don't think so, because even though Pete Dunne, he's warming on me a lot, I actually think that this is pretty cool. Makes Pete Dunne look really dominant, and it's nice because you've now got 1-1 going into the rubber match potentially with these guys. But then a swerve as well. We know obviously Killian Dane has been getting involved here. Killian Dane comes out, he attacks, he Vader bombs, he gets Damian Priest on the outside, they fight, throws Priest into the steps, and obviously Killian Dane kind of comes out looking dominant over these two. So out of these 2 matches, I give the opening match of NXT actually the thumbs up on this, and I think it was a better match. I preferred the story to it, it had more story to it, so overall NXT wins this round. We then of course have our one of many tag team matches for AEW Dynamite. We had the SCU coming out to do commentary as the Dark Order took on Private Party. Not going to talk too much about this match. It was a decent tag team match. The pace was also slowed down a bit as well, which I like. I think JR or someone's had a word with these guys and goes, look, you've got to slow this down a bit. You know, this is not the indie scene. We need to tell a story. You need to make people believe that things hurt. If you just get up after every single move and do 20 finishes every match, people won't believe it. They did it in the Shawn Undertaker matches at WrestleMania, but they sold them. They still sold the moves. They just kicked out, and they told a great story. That was one of the best matches potentially of all time. Here was a decent tag team match with Private Party going over. So you know, it wasn't anything special, but just a nice 3-star match. I think the highlight for me for NXT though was the Dakota Kai versus Shayna Baszler match. You know, they had this Really good story where Dakota Kai's got something to prove. She's obviously the clear baby face in this, and Shayna Baszler, even though she gets great reactions, she is obviously the heel. God, some of the aggression that Shayna Baszler was showing tonight, when she threw her into the ring post, stomping on her legs repeatedly. There's a lot of joint manipulation going on with the submission style, obviously the old UFC style with her. There were some great gut-wrench suplexes. I love the toe-to-toe with the punches. So they're toe-to-toe, they start punching slow, back and forth, and then it starts getting faster and faster and faster. And once it just tells a great story. The women in NXT are by far outperforming the women in AEW. I mean, there was a tag team match in AEW tonight with it was like I sort of describe it as like an international showcase. You had Jamie Hayter and Emma Sakara, or Emi Sakura, taking on Shayna and Rio, who is the 5-year-old girl who manages to win the title and wrestle. Now look, don't get me wrong, she's not too bad, but I'm kind of with Jim Cornette on this. She just, to me, she's so small, and she's so happy little lady. It's just something about it that doesn't quite work for me. I think they need to get the belt off her and give it to someone more dominant. And God, they need to get Tessa Blanchard into AEW ASAP. Alright guys, so main event time now. Now, looking at the beginning of the show for NXT, this was brilliant. We had the OC. It started off literally with Morrow on the mic saying, guys, we've got some breaking news. They showed us the footage of the OC turning up, in their regular clothes, attacking the Undisputed Era, and then coming out to the ring. They came out, cut a great promo, obviously AJ Styles doing all the work. We then had Tommaso Ciampa's music hit. He came out saying that, NXT is the main roster, and of course all the crowd chanting, Daddy's home, Daddy's home. Brilliant, love it. We then had Keith Lee and Matt Riddle coming out, and then of course that led to a challenge for the main event. The AEW main event, however, already had the main event announced. So we had Hangman Page and Kenny Omega, or Kenny Olivier, as Jim Cornette calls him, taking on the team of Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho. Now, in this match, it was a decent match. They went about 13 minutes. Chris Jericho did sort of do his heelish thing by letting kind of Sammy, the young guy, taking most of the abuse here and doing most of the work on the in the ring. But really had some great things going on. I mean, Omega, man, that guy is so smooth in the ring. Some of the stuff he does is so quick, so smooth. Look, like with everything, he's not my favourite character, but man, that guy can wrestle and that guy can go in the ring big time. We had Jake Hager on the outside as well. He knocks out Omega at one point. There were some great high spots, some great moonsaults, packed with the ushering in the low blow, and Chris Jericho giving the Judas effect for the win, pinning Hangman Page. Now, guys, after this, it all started kicking off. Obviously, of course, doing what they do, the Inner Circle started attacking these guys. Then Cody came down. MJF came down. Then we had Moxley coming down with the barbed wire. Moxley and Omega squaring off in the ring, absolutely going for it. And then what happened there is that, Santana Ortez are coming out. The Young Bucks came out. It all ended in one massive brawl. It looked really, really real. Now, guys, they had the big brawl on Raw at the end of Raw this week. I didn't really think it was that great. It kind of was a bit, it was alright, kind of standard. This brawl felt a lot more real, a lot more random. I love the fact that briefly Moxley and Omega had to work together just to get rid of the other guys. And then as soon as they did that, they faced each other and then just went for it. So absolute pandemonium, absolute chaos. A great ending going in to the pay-per-view coming up, Full Gear, this Saturday night. Main event for NXT now, guys. Now, equally, this was awesome. Matt Riddle, just like Kenny Omega, was absolutely on fire tonight. He's so good in the ring. Keith Lee as well. I mean, he's a big guy. The fact he can move like that is absolutely amazing. Doing the Vader bombs. He can do his moonsault on the outside. That spot that Matt Riddle did when he ran, and then he did a backflip to the outside with like a corkscrew. I don't know what it's called, but that was absolutely unbelievable. A much faster pace in the main roster. I mean, God, if this match was on Monday Night Raw at this pace, man, it would be amazing. I thought this match was great. Of course, then we had a no contest ending. So it did end in a no contest, which I don't mind. Adam Cole came out, got involved in the match. The referee got bumped before that. And then Finn Balor came out. He ended up giving the sign to AJ Styles. We're not quite sure where Finn Balor's allegiance is going to lie. Hopefully, he's either going to join AJ Styles and the OC and sort of reform the Bullet Club as such. or he's just going to be his own guy and just look out for himself. I think probably the latter for him in the long run will be better, unless they put him into the club for a bit and then they can fall out and him and AJ Styles can have a program together, either as Balor as a heel or as AJ Styles as a heel, whichever way is going to work. The show again, once just like AEW Dynamite, ended on a big schmoz, so both shows ending very, very similar. I actually have got to give this pretty much even Stevens tonight. I think the main event match though, both matches were pretty even. I would probably just about give it to AEW Dynamite, but then again the wrestling was so good on either show, guys. I'm going to give this one a bit of a draw, and the ending similar. I'm going to give it a bit of a draw, a bit more chaotic with AEW, but very, very similar endings. One thing AEW absolutely smashed NXT on tonight was the comedy. Now look, we all know that Chris Jericho's the man. He is Le Champion. He is brilliant. We had this great video that apparently Jim Ross said no one's watched yet, but here it is. It was obviously taking the piss quite a lot. Chris Jericho talking about, we had Chris Jericho's aunt's friend from church saying how Chris Jericho has always dreamed about becoming the AEW champion since he was a little kid, which is funny considering AEW's only been in existence for a few months. We also had another situation where Sammy Guevara saying about how he's a father figure and how it's amazing how he's the youngest AEW champion of all time at 48, which I thought was brilliant considering once again he's the only AEW champion of all time. We also have Virgil. I couldn't believe that. Virgil popped up and was talking about Chris Jericho as well, giving some funny comments. I just thought this whole thing was brilliant with Chris Jericho in the bath, drinking his champagne, saying he's going to have a bit of the bubbly when he's all done. And look, Jericho's the man. Nothing else to be said about that, really. Absolutely brilliant. Another great promo was, of course, Cody Rhodes coming out tonight with Tony Schiavone. I won't go into this too much, but the gist of it, the short story is that he says if he loses at Full Gear, he will never challenge for the AEW title again. Now, we all know it's wrestling. We all know these things happen. And we all know at some point he will challenge for the AEW title again if he loses. But it's still a good storyline. It makes you want to watch the match even more. NXT was a much more serious show. One thing to really note actually about the Rhea Ripley promo, because after the after the Shayna Baszler match, we had a lot of shenanigans happening with the women again. So many people came out, and we had Maya Kim, I think that's how you pronounce her name. She came out doing the Sandman deal with the kendo stick, hitting everyone. And then later on they went backstage for a promo about who's your fourth person in the War Games match. She decided to get rid of Dakota Kai and essentially put Maya Kim in her place. And she said, look, that's just my cut, that's just how it is. Dakota Kai kind of went off looking a bit upset. And obviously could be building up a rivalry between the two very, very soon. Going back to the matches, we had Tony Nese taking on Angel Garza in a 12-minute 20 match. Very good scrappy mat wrestling, lots of leapfrogs. There were some really good spots in this as well. Some DDTs on the outside, moonsaults, the 450 splash over the ropes, and the wing clipper for the victory for Angel Garza. That means he'll be taking on Lio Rush for the Cruiserweight title. Another good match here. I think looking at the shows overall tonight, I think that if you see AEW, how it was a few weeks ago, and look at it now, they have slowed the pace down a little bit, and they are sort of starting to sell a bit more and telling slightly better stories in the ring. Just because it's new doesn't necessarily mean it's better. There's a lot of obviously hype and excitement about it being new, and your natural instinct is to think, oh, this is great because this is new. But I do think the NXT are really switching things up, and having the OC coming in tonight, they didn't overdo it and have a whole roster coming in. But having the OC coming in tonight and having this match was great. Both shows were awesome. Don't forget, AEW is a go-home show and NXT wasn't. So NXT doesn't need to be as hyped as the AEW one. However, I feel in lots of ways it was. I'm going to look at both shows tonight, and I'm going to... If I look on this from a purely professional overall package, I give it to NXT. Purely because there was less botches, especially in that opening match with Puck. That was a very weird botch. There was the presentation, I feel, is still a lot smoother. Okay, there's no pyro, but I just feel that the NXT crowd were into it as well. It's a little bit more than the AEW crowd tonight, although both crowds were great. Overall, NXT gets this week. So we're getting really close to a draw now. I believe, I might be wrong, if I look at my tally, I believe it's 4-3 now to AEW. So next week, if NXT can pull it out of the hat as well, we'll be equal in the Wednesday Night War. The question is, who is going to win the ratings? Now, thanks guys for watching this video. Please do comment below. Let me know what you think. Like, share and subscribe. And we'll see you again for our SmackDown review on Saturday.